Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear respected brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode where we choose a verse from one of the juz'us of the Quran and we reflect slightly upon it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that even if you get the oceans of the earth converted into ink and try to explain and translate and reflect on the words of God, you will run out of ink before explaining or reflecting upon these beautiful words. So with these short minutes that we try to get some of the points or some of the feelings that we feel when we read these verses or some of the lessons from these verses, we are by no way saying that this is enough tafsir or this is enough explanation of these verses. This is just simply a tip of an iceberg for us to dig deeper into those verses and try to get more information or more lessons that concluded from those verses. Today's verse is from Surah Yusuf, and it is in the 12th juz' or 12th part of the Quran. And Surah Yusuf is one of the beautiful surahs of the Quran, and the story in it is absolutely mesmerizing. When we go through the events and the incidents that happen during this story, we go up and down with our emotions and our feelings. It takes us into high levels of joy and then goes down to sadness, and it's such a beautiful way of how it plays with our emotions and our feelings. When the father cries, when the father is sad because he lost his son, but then at the end when they meet together, it's such a beautiful feeling. When Yusuf is by himself in the well and how he goes through the tribulation of life, but then at the end it has a very nice ending. And when his brothers apologize to him, it just makes a beautiful compilation of events and incidents that I personally enjoyed so much, even if I read it for the 100th or the 1000th time. The verse from today is a verse that's teaching us a lesson, teaching us a very important principle in our lives, that no one should compromise or jeopardize their faith for the sake of worldly gains. As we all know, Yusuf was a young, handsome, single man living in a country that he's a stranger in it, he's a foreigner. And he was living in a palace, and a very good-looking, powerful, rich woman, his lady, the wife of his master, started inviting him to commit fahisha. And she plotted and planned for it, and he ran away from it. And then when she invited her friends, and the whole now group of women are pressuring him to do something that he's not supposed to do, otherwise he will be in trouble, or he will go to prison, or he will be humiliated in the society. So all these threats and all these temptations all play together, and you can imagine what's happening in his mind and his heart when he is going through that. Yet he showed us a good example how he would choose to be in a difficult situation. He would rather go to prison instead of doing what Allah does not want him to do. The verse says, قال رب السجن أحب إلي مما يدعونني إليه وإلا تصرف عني كيدهن أصب إليهن وأكن من الجاهلين. Allah says, Yusuf is talking to Allah, "Oh my Lord, I would rather be thrown in prison rather than doing what they are asking me to do. And if you do not protect me from them, I might fall into the fahisha or the sin, and I will be among those who will be humiliated, not because of what they do, but because of a major indecency that he could have committed." Now this is a very important lesson for us, that sometimes when the temptations are so high, you might want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you, to protect you. If you find out that your health or your strength or your good looks or your money are being used or could be used in a wrong way, and you're being tempted to use it in a wrong way, then Go to Allah. Ask Him, oh Allah, you blessed me with this. Oh Allah, you gave me all this. Do not let me use it in haram. Oh Allah, you helped me to be in such a situation. Do not let me be ungrateful by doing wrong things. And even if I have to choose between having difficult life and disobeying Allah, I would choose a difficult life all the time over disobeying Allah with a good life. A few days ago, one of the great scholars of America, there was a viral video going around and people are sharing it, and he said, if it's up, he would love to have his kids reach high levels of education, become doctors and scientists. But if it's going to come on the expense of them losing their faith, he'd rather them being in much lower income jobs, but keep their faith or keep their religion and stay on Islam. And that is what we should be thinking. Yes, we love our children to be A students, to excel in school, to excel in college, to excel in their careers. But if that comes on the expense of them losing their faith or doing things that are against the teachings of their faith, then we should not be wishing for that. I would rather my kids be in much more difficult life, but not losing their religion, rather than them be having a successful life, but on the expense of losing their faith and losing their religion. The same thing for us. We get tempted, we get asked, we get offered these jobs, these deals or these offers. But sometimes it has a catch and it has a caveat that says, but you have to do this and you have to do that. And someone say, but it's just only one time. I will compromise my faith and then after that I won't do that. It doesn't happen. Once you compromise your faith for worldly gain, it will become much easier to do that afterwards. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he is going through this trial, this tribulation, this overwhelming pressure to commit something that Allah does not want him to do things that Allah would not be pleased with. And he has all excuses. No one would know. He's a young person, he's ignorant, he's single, he's not he can use any excuse and say that, but he did not. He said, oh Allah, I would never do that. A few verses before he said, Ma'adha Allah. Qala ma'adha Allah. God forbid I will commit such a crime. Not only because it's against what Allah wants me, but also it's a betrayal for the man who took him into his house. So Yusuf alayhi salam was very aware of this mistake that he could have done, but he chose not to do it. He resisted the temptation, and when the temptation became overwhelming, when the temptation became so powerful and so strong, he asked Allah to help him. He said, Allah, protect me. وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنْ. Oh Allah, if you do not take their temptations away or their plot away from me, I might fall into the sin. I might fall into the trap and do something wrong. And then he would say clearly, oh Allah, I'd rather be thrown in prison instead of doing what they're asking me to do. Now some guys on college campuses will say things completely the opposite. Oh, I will do anything to do this. I will do anything to get that. I will do anything to achieve that, even if it's wrong. And that is not what we are learning from this verse. This verse is a principle that we all should keep in our minds, that yes, we would love to be successful in our worldly affairs and our worldly matters. At the same time, we like to be successful in our religious matter. But if we have to choose, and it's an ultimate choice that we have to choose between both, whether to have deen or dunya, then our choice will be deen. Our choice will be to protect my faith, to protect my morals, to protect my integrity, to protect my values, to protect my religion, even if it means I'm going to lose money, even if it means I'm going to lose a job, even if it means I'm going to lose a business. I will never compromise my faith, my values, my principles for the sake of worldly gain, whether it's money or jobs or any other gains. This is a lesson that we learn from the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam in his social etiquette, how he felt what he should be doing when he is facing a temptation. The story is full of lessons and full of parables that we can conclude and apply in our lives. This was just one of them. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who hear the advice and apply it in their lives. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are all protect our integrity and our values with every way possible. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we all teach our children that their values and their principles are much more important than fame and money and winning students' elections or getting approved or getting accepted into college or getting this job or that job. Our values, our integrity, our religion, our faith is a top priority. We should not compromise it for any worldly gain. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that none of us will have to go through this challenge or this temptation or this trial, but if we have to, then I ask Him that we all make the right choice and the right decision by not falling into the temptations and doing things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not be pleased with. This is one of the benefits of fasting. One of the benefits of Ramadan, it teaches how to control our desires, how to resist the temptations and control the desires that we face in our lives. When you're saying, I'm not going to drink water, even though I'm tempted to, even though no one is watching me, that's a lesson we learn in Ramadan that makes it much easier for us to practice it outside Ramadan with many, many other things. This is a lesson we learn, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we found it beneficial. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that your day was not very difficult and your fasting was easy and smooth. We are in the middle part of the month, and make sure that you do not slow down or get lazy or just give up on reaching your goals for this month. I'm sure many of you have put goals for yourself, whether to read the whole Quran, memorize a certain surah, donate a certain amount. Do not let yourself be less motivated and less encouraged to fulfill your goals and achieve what you're supposed to achieve. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you all. This is the time for Adhan al-Maghrib based on the Chino Valley area. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your fast. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your food, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you tremendously for everything that you're doing. ذهب الظمأ وابتلت العروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. Now we call the adhan and enjoy your iftar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.